Good evening. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and the show is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Thank you for joining us. And I also want to let you know that the show is now being simultaneously shown on Facebook Live. So if you go to the page, The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win, you can also watch the show. Okay, this evening, Terry is still not back with us. He's having some health challenges, so please keep him in your prayers, and hopefully he'll return to the show very soon. We're going to take our first call. We're going to take it from Sharishi in Compton. Good evening. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I have a story to tell.
Okay, go ahead.
My children were taken, and I told them that they came out to investigate my house or whatever, and I had a previous open DCFS case, and my case was scheduled to close, and my social worker was coming out to my house, and then one day she just told me she was going to keep my kids, and I told her why, and then next minute I know she was taking them. She didn't explain it to me, and just to break it down, I want to dig it deep into it, and she's favoring my baby father, and she's recommending that the children go to him. And I was like, why? And he was the abuser. And as time went on, I was doing an investigation, and one of my friends told me she seen my social worker and my baby father at a hotel. And I said, you lying. And I went there, and I caught them at a hotel. So my kids were taken because my social worker was sleeping with my baby father.
And tell us what happened in the juvenile court case.
As far as the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
My children were taken, and your law office got my children back. They were going to adopt my children out, and your law office got my kids back. And I sued, and I got a nice lump sum for my compensation.
You know, when we represented you, and I remember meeting you, and you told me the story, and I thought, you know, how in the world are we going to prove that your children were taken because the social worker was having an affair with your ex, the father of, was he the father of one or two of the children?
One of the children.
Yeah, one of the children. And then when you told me that we could prove it because you had video, you had videoed them with your phone coming out of the motel room, I knew that something could be done. You know, I hear some crazy stories. Your case was one of the craziest stories I've heard in a long time. And, you know, people ask me, well, why would the social worker do what she did, and why would the father do what he did? And I think that in your case, the father may have done what he did because of financial reasons. What do you think about that?
Yes, he actually did. And it was, really sad because, and I kind of was, hurt by him because at the end of the day, we did have a child together and we've been through a lot. And I felt like, it was, this loyalty. But then it's it kind of, messed me up because, she's supposed to be the social worker. And I thought that they're supposed to be mandated reporters and they're supposed to build a family and not break a family. And that's what she did. She made it worse for me, and my kids were away from me, and now they're still acting a little different. They're still going to therapy. It just changed the whole, outcome and the way I think about everything that's going on.
You know, as I recall, that social worker did get fired from DCFS in Los Angeles County. It's one of the few cases where a social worker may have done something wrong and then ends up getting fired that I know about. Maybe it happens more. I just don't know about it. But I don't know if you know this, but she tried to get her job back.
Yeah, actually she did. And my baby father had came to court to testify on her. And she seen that he was there, and she didn't come back. But she did a whole lot, though. It was just a lot of whatever. But, Mr. Davis, I want to say I really do thank you for representing me because nobody else believed me. A lot of people kept saying, why would this social worker sleep with this man? And I kept telling them nobody believed me, and you did at no cost in Also, I had no representation inside of court, and you represented me in court, and I really do thank you for that. Like, I really thank you, because nobody would listen to my story, and they say, this social worker, like, it was just a lot, and you just listened to me, and you went from there at no cost. You drew up the papers, and you've been representing me since then.
Well, I want to thank you for that. Your case was very satisfying, and it helped, I think, make a lot of changes, hopefully, in DCFS here in Los Angeles County. Shrishi, thank you for calling in and sharing that story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for representing me. And I would recommend anybody to come to you, because you're not about the money. You really care about family. You really care about building families and fighting for what's right. And I would recommend anybody that needs you, I would recommend them to have you.
Well,
wonderful attorney.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All righty. You know, one of the things that she didn't mention, because of her story, she is now on a quest to go to law school and to become a lawyer herself and represent parents in these types of cases, with social workers taking children away. And she's on her way to go to law school. All right, let's take another call. Let's take Miss Howard from Northern Cal?
Yes.
Hi, Miss Howard. You're on with Attorney Vince Davis. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Yes, I do. My case is currently active, currently open, but before I do get started, I would like to thank Mr. Davis for all of his YouTube videos. That's how I originally located Mr. Davis, so I would like to thank you for all of your information provided via YouTube.
My pleasure. I love doing those little videos.
Getting started, my kids, I have 3 kids. They were displaced from me in 2019, November of 2019, for reasons of me spanking my daughter for behavioral issues at school. A week prior, the father had assaulted me in my home in front of my kids. This had been ongoing domestic violence displayed in front of my kids, even though the father did not live with me. I was arrested for this situation. I had to pay an extensive bail. All the information I provided to Child and Welfare Services about the father's anger issues, my non-domestic abuse reports, every single one of them stated that I wanted to press charges. They did not provide this information to the courts. Now the situation has been going on for 2 years, and they have recently, there's so many negligence within my case, but the most recent, they have violated my parental rights and not consulting with me and allowing the father to move the kids to another school without consulting with me or making me aware. And when conversing with the social services, the social service rep, when asking her why wasn't I made aware, her response was that she didn't think it was top priority. And then when I go into further inquiries as to the court orders, or have they provided a referral, or have my kids started therapy yet? And she would go into the dates as to when they started. And again, my questions would be, why wasn't I made aware? Mm-hmm. And her response to me would be that she doesn't know why I am expecting to be made aware. And so I've done everything that they asked of me to do. They have not asked any other recommendations for me. And at this time, I'm still only allowed 6 hours supervised visits with my mom on Saturdays. I'm still not able to call my kids. They can't call me. And this has been ongoing for 2 years, and I have not done anything misconduct within my visits, not made my kids fearful of me. We enjoy our times together. I videotape them. I send them to my public defender. They also have supervised my visits, in which they have given the courts nothing but positive reports. And this situation has just stripped me from my kids and allowed the father to parent, alienate me from my kids and to manipulate them into thinking that I'm a bad person so that he can remain having custody of them, because, again, the father has committed so much negative domestic violence against me in front of my kids. At the last one, I did call the police at the time. It was just a week after I had issues with my daughter. He attempted to use this in his defense to not go to jail.
Well, Ms. Howard, let me ask you something. What county is your case in?
It's in Alameda County.
Do you have a private attorney or court-appointed attorney?
I have a court-appointed attorney, and I am saving money now. I have spoke to your office and was advised what to do, and so I am saving money to obtain legal assistance from your office.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just before all of this happened, I was just a single mother taking care of my kids singly by myself,
mm-hmm.
and dealing with the issues from the father. He caused so much stress and depression in my life of having to take care of the kids, the burden of taking care of them, not just financially, but providing, emotional support and making sure that I'm there, making sure I'm teaching them and guiding them properly. All of this was on me to do. And so now he's utilizing the system to go against me so that he initially does not have to pay any child support, but he's messing up the kids in the process. My kids' mental state is off now. They have to go to therapy.
How long has your case been open?
It's been open for 2 years now.
Okay. Well, you know what? I want you to give me a call on Monday, and I'd like to talk to you personally about your case. You can reach me at 888-888-6582. That's 888-888-6582. Call me. We're going to talk more in depth about your case, okay? We have to take a break right now, pay some bills. We'll be back. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. We're back. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and this is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Let's take our next call. It's Juliet in Arizona. Hi, Juliet. Did you have a story? Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
A definite story to tell.
Okay, the note said that you grew up in foster care. What's your story?
Oh, yes. Did I ever grow up in foster care? I was actually given to foster care upon birth. This is very hard to talk about. I'm sorry. It took
okay. Take your
me
time.
years to get over the shock after realizing what had happened to me and my family, after investigating, after putting everything into understanding what had happened to my family and why everybody was keeping these deep, dark secrets. It was just intensified shock for me for the past 2 years. So what happened to my family was my father, the person that conceived me, may I say it like that, because
Sure.
Not everybody deserves the title of father.
Sure.
He was a very well-known criminal. And the minute I was born, my mom knew that she was going to be put through absolute hell if she put my father on the birth certificate. So my birth father isn't even on my birth certificate to try to protect me. That didn't do any good. The system has used my family as bait to get my father for many, many, many years. No matter what my family does, we can go into hiding. We can move to a different state. We can change our names. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because of what my father did and because of his actions, my family has always been used as bait for the justice system. From day one, I have been used as a fish, basically, to catch a shark. Me and my family have been set up in more ways than I can even explain. I have been used as a hostage negotiator. When I was 5 years old, my mom was put on housing as a domestic violence victim. She tried so hard to get the help that she needed. Sorry.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Why are you calling into the show right now? Was it just to share that story?
Oh, I'm tired. I'm so tired. I'm done. It doesn't stop. No matter what I do, I can get a Nobel Peace Prize, and they won't stop harassing me to this day. Because of my father's history, I get harassed. My family gets harassed. I get thrown under the bus constantly.
Are you getting harassed by CPS in Arizona?
Oh, yeah. You know what they did to me recently? They took my kids into the system for a suspended license. Guess who caused the suspended license? They did. They set me up.
Are you currently living in Arizona?
Unfortunately.
Are you able? Do you have an attorney representing you in the CPS case?
I won my CPS trial. They took my sons for no justified reasons whatsoever. My child, though, my 2-year-old, is currently in California, and he was trafficked. He was kidnapped by Crit PD. That is, I moved to reservation to get help in regards to my situation, escaping the KKK. Straight up.
All right. Let's go to our next call. It's Charlotte in Long Beach.
Hello.
Hi, Charlotte. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I have a question, actually. So I've been having a lot of problems with my DCFS case because the office that has my case is in Glendora, which is not in my jurisdiction, in my area. It's a good hour-and-a-half drive away. So my social worker has no resources or any way to help me over here. And I've had my case for 18 months now. My children are 3 and 17 months. And my worker wants to terminate my rights now.
Terminate your rights or your family reunification services?
Yes, because recently my husband, he had stolen my purse. And I had filed a police report. And so she put in the report that I was lying and that the police gave a false report number to me so that way she could terminate my rights, which didn't make any sense because police don't give false, report numbers, you know?
Charlotte, this is
my husband was in jail for 90 days.
Charlotte, this is a very important question. Is the social worker terminating your parental rights or your family reunification services?
My family reunification services.
Okay.
Can you tell me the difference between those?
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Okay.
Typically at one of the 6-month review hearings, typically the 12-month review hearing, if the children aren't returned to you, the court would, in most cases, terminate your family reunification services and continue the case for 120 days to have what they call a 366.26 selection and implementation hearing, where they will pick the best permanent plan for your children. And that could be adoption, it could be legal guardianship, could be long-term foster care. And there's a lot of things that you can do during that 120 days to try to stall this or turn things around. You might want to file...
I'm on my 18th-month review, though.
Okay. So you're at your 18-month review, and...
And it was a family friend who took my children, who will not talk to me, turned against me, and wants to adopt my children permanently.
Okay. So are you represented by a court-appointed attorney or a private attorney?
I was represented by a court-ordered attorney who had a big issue with alcoholics. That's why my case was for alcohol. And so I had to hire an attorney. So I have my own private attorney now.
Okay, good.
Who just took over last week.
And how's that working out?
We go to court on Friday, so we'll see.
All right.
Hopefully good.
I wish you luck and God bless, and keep listening, Charlotte.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's take another quick call from Molly in Granada Hills. Molly, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
My question is, I had my great-grandson, I had him under my care since he was born. He's 4 years old now, and he was
Okay.
taken away from me in
Hey, Molly.
August.
Molly, I got to interrupt you. I just was told we got to take a break in about 30 seconds. So I want you to hold on the phone. When we come back, we'll start with your call again, okay?
Thank you.
All right. This is Attorney Vince Davis. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Okay, this is Vince Davis. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. All right, we were talking to Molly from Granada Hills. Molly, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead and finish the story you were telling, please.
Okay, my story is that my great-grandson was put into my care on when he was born, and he's 4 years old now. But about a year and a half ago, he was removed from my home and given to the father and the paternal grandparents. Well, the father was incarcerated, and the paternal grandparents have him. But my question is this: at that time when they took him away from me, the judge awarded me visitation rights with my great-grandson from Friday to Sunday, so every weekend. And so recently, about 2 weeks ago, I was told by the social worker at DCFS that my visitation rights have been are suspended until further notice. Can he do that?
Well, if the judge hasn't made a new order, the social worker can't do that. The social worker cannot trump the judge's court order. And, I see a lot of social workers who think it's all right to do that, either by mistake or they just don't care. But, a lot of people like yourself, when they're told that by the social worker, they just accept it. And if I were you, I would confirm that the court order is still in place. You can do that by asking the child's attorney, or you could even ask the social worker and see if the social worker tells you the truth. But if there is a court order that you have weekend visits every weekend, until that order is rescinded or modified, you have your visitation, and the social worker can't change it.
So what do I do at this point? I'll check to see if it's still in that it hasn't been rescinded, and then how do I go from there? Do I just call the paternal grandparents and let them know that I can see him? Do I go to the police and have them take me there? How do I do this?
Right. What you're probably going to have to do is file something with the court if the social worker is still saying, hey, we're not, I'm not going to give you your weekend visit. And, you might want to file some type of petition, a 388 petition. You can address it by way of motion. You probably should file something called a de facto motion. And all of these things will notify and let the judge know, hey, that you're not getting your court-ordered visitation. Generally speaking, judges don't like when people change their orders. All right? Judges make decisions, they make orders, and they expect them to be followed. And if this social worker is doing something that is against the judge's order, you have to bring it to the judge's attention.
And the way I do that is by filling out that, you said a 388 or?
388, I'd file a de facto motion as well. There's something called a JV 285. I would also file that. You can get that right off the internet. Just Google JV 285. But you got to let the judge know. I would probably start with the minor's attorney and whether he or she, and ask them, hey, I had, court-ordered visits and the social worker has decided not to give them to me. Has the judge made a new order? You might want to do that via email. Okay,
I'll do that. I'll start with that.
Okay. And if you have any problems, going forward, give me a call, 888-888-6582. All righty?
Thank you very much for your help.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let's take Another call, Miss Chavez from Los Angeles. Miss Chavez, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Hi. I just,
Got some background noise there, Miss Chavez.
yeah. Honestly, I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank
I'm
you.
calling to say thank you very much for this week. And thank you for the miracle that you made of keeping my children out of a foster care home.
Well, Miss Chavez, I want to thank you for your husband hiring me. And, let me tell a story real quick. A lot of people come to me and they say, hey, we're not going to hire you right now because we want to see what happens at the first court date. And, of course, that's everybody's prerogative. But so many important things happen at the first court date. I can't even begin to tell you. And if you're going to have me at any court hearing, you want to have me at the initial court date. I represented Mr. Chavez, not Miss Chavez. And one of the things that alerted me during the case, we were there, it was the first hearing, the detention hearing. I realized from Miss Chavez's court-appointed attorney that the judge who signed the warrant to detain the children from both Mr. and Mrs. Chavez was the judge who we were going to be appearing in front of that day. And, I spoke to the Miss Chavez's attorney, and we both decided that's probably not a good idea. So we filed what's called, actually Miss Chavez's attorney filed something called a CCP 170.6 affidavit against the judge who signed the warrant to take the children from both of the mother and father. And we were assigned to another judge, randomly selected by the clerk's office. Well, we ended up going in front of that judge, and the judge, decided that the children should be released back to Mr. Chavez and, not go to a foster home. And I want to tell you that during that hearing, the county council made a very good legal argument against us. And we were lucky enough to have the minor's attorney join us that the children should remain with Mr. Chavez. And, of course, Mrs. Chavez's attorney, who was a court-appointed attorney, did an excellent job in argument in keeping the children either with both of the parents or with Mr. Chavez. And the judge finally made a ruling, and he ruled in our favor that the children should be released to Mr. Chavez. And, if we had stayed in the original courtroom where the judge had signed the warrant to take the children away from both parents, I don't think that would have been the outcome. So I just want to mention that because important stuff happens at the initial hearing. It sets the tone for the entire case. And if you are going to go to court and wait to see what happens, you could be making a big mistake, very big mistake, because, going into the next hearing, we have the children in our custody, in Mr. Chavez's custody, and that's a lot different from going to the next hearing and the children are in foster care.
Yes.
One of the, so I want to tell people.
I was so terrified, and I'm so grateful for all your work.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Chavez. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling, and keep listening.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. It's so important what happens at that first hearing. Another thing that happened at the first hearing where I told Mr. Chavez, I said, look, we could lose these kids to foster care, so I want you to bring as many relatives as you can and family friends so that they can be considered and, talk to the judge or testify to have the children released to one of them. And, we showed up in the morning. There were just a couple relatives. And as the day went on, people were, they were getting off work and more relatives showed up. So when we walked into the courtroom, we had, maybe 7 or 8 relatives that were there, and a couple family friends were included in that were there and could take, could tell the judge, hey, if you're not going to give the kids back to the parents, or at least one of the parents, we want the children placed with us, so they don't have to go to a strange foster family. There were 3 children, and I think the oldest may have been about 7, but the youngest was like 3 years old. Can you imagine that child being taken from the parents and just shipped off to a family home? To a foster home, a strange foster home. I'm not sure we give that enough thought about what that really can do to a child. One day you're with your parents, the next day you're with some strangers, and what's that all about? And how is that going to affect the child or children, as their life goes on? It's not always the panacea that we believe. Foster care is not what people think. Yes, they're good foster parents. And yes, there are a lot of, not so good foster parents. So before we throw children in foster care, we should really give it a second thought and think about these relatives and family friends who could step up and take these children, and care for them. Okay, I'm being signaled. We have to take another break, pay some more bills. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win.
And now, back to our show.
All right, we're back. This is Attorney Vince Davis. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Before we take our next call, I want to tell a listener, Cam, I got your message from the call screener, and I will be calling you immediately after this show ends. So stand by. I'll be calling you tonight around 9 p.m. Okay, let's take our next call from Sean in the South Bay. Sean, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
And I just basically had a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
As far as my case goes, my case has been closed. My rights were terminated on January 7th, 2019, and I just wanted to know if, besides the appeal, is there any other option that I have to get my son back?
Okay, so it depends on a lot of different factors. Is your son with relatives or with strangers?
It's he was placed with a woman that me and my son's father kind of knew, obviously not very well, but we knew her. So it's with a friend, basically.
Okay.
Or we thought she was a friend.
So number one, of course, what you can do, your number one option is file the appeal. If that isn't successful, you can file a second appeal to the California Supreme Court. Those are your 2 main options. There are other options that you can do. They're very difficult to prevail on, but you can make a motion to try to set aside the judgment of adoption and the termination of your parental rights based upon some type of fraud or other irregularity during the court process. I don't know if that occurred during your case, but those are different options that you can use.
Okay.
All right.
So, okay.
Go ahead. Did you have another question?
Yeah, so I was listening to you earlier and you saying that the first court hearing is really vital to the case.
Yes.
And so this is my first time going through anything like this. And so at that hearing, I was unaware of options that I had. I found out by doing research on my own, every party in the case has one opportunity to request to switch the judge.
Right.
One time at least, but I guess to my understanding that's only an option at that first hearing.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah,
okay.
that used to be the old rule. A couple of years ago, feels like a case came down in California that said even after the first hearing, you have 10 days to switch judges. So, if you go to the first hearing and you go in front of your judge and you don't like the results, you still have 10 days to ask for a new judge using a 170.6.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering, is there a statute of limitations as far as after the appeal process, when your rights are terminated and then there's the appeal and you lose the appeal, and then they give you an option for you to file a rehearing yourself. Like,
Right.
I think you have 15 days to do that. So if
Right.
that's already passed, then is that like it?
Well, yeah, for those particular options and the dates that you gave me, those timelines have long, passed.
Okay.
All right. Sean, thank you for calling, and keep listening, please.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's take another call. Roseanne from Santa Monica. Roseanne, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask? Roseanne?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yes, I can hear you
me?
loud and clear.
Good, then I won't shout. So I have, some questions about grandparents' rights. My daughter has been struggling with addiction as well as mental health problems, but she was never really diagnosed or acknowledged for the mental health issue until she was recently in jail. Now she is currently listed as dual diagnosis, where she's got a drug addiction that she's fighting as well as some underlying mental health issues.
Sure.
So she she couldn't do juvenile court. The stress of getting to the testing on time, and there was a lot of issues that fell into play, the failing of her relationship with the father, and then a domestic violence thing that occurred. There was a lot that made her slip and go back to addiction. So I had been approved, I was live scanned and approved to, care and provide care for my grandson from his second birthday on for about 8 months along with my daughter. And then she slipped, and I told her, okay, then, if you're going to be using drugs, you can't stay here, but I want you to leave Weston with me. And she agreed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had Weston, my grandson, for 3 months. And this is after she slipped, and I thought DCFS found out right away. Like, she told me she was talking to her social worker and working out a new rehab and all this, but that was not coming of a fruition. So I had full custody and care of Weston until they decided to pick him up on a whim because I have a previous record from back in the 90s of a lot of false accusations made during a bad custody battle. And they never would give me the answer of what I actually did. Like, they would never tell me what I was accused of exactly. I went through the whole RFA training process, and it all came, I was approved for everything. My home was approved. Everything was approved except this former CPS record in another county up the coast, and extensive false accusations made because I was running a child care during this custody battle I was having, and so they were doing everything they could to undermine that business and make me look like a bad parent, my ex and his kind of psychotic girlfriend at the time. So there I am. There you have the story. I'm being kind of criminalized from
Okay. Well, hold on a
the
second.
90s.
When did they pick up the child?
They picked up the child 3 months after my daughter tested dirty, and they told me that I was supposed to report to them and that I had violated, my agreement with them. And I never signed any paper that said I was a mandated reporter or anything. I just was live scanned.
Right.
And, every week they would come and look at the house, look at the baby. Everything was great until my daughter did that. So
where is the child now?
He's been placed in foster care back in June.
June of 2019?
Yep.
Okay,
last year. Yeah.
All right, so let me tell you
I've
what
been visiting him every week. They gave me 3 hours unsupervised. Well, they wanted supervised, but the judge gave me unsupervised visitation. So I go visit him every week and meet his foster parents.
I'm going to tell you what you need to do, okay?
Yes, sir.
Hope you have a pen and a piece of paper.
I am grabbing one immediately because I just saw this text and I was like, oh, my God, I got to get on the phone and talk to Mr. Davis.
Okay, the first thing you need to do.
Okay, I got my paper, yes.
First thing you need to do is you need to file a de facto motion.
I did file one, actually.
Was it granted?
On top of it. No, she said it was premature and she threw it out.
Okay, so you need to refile it again.
Okay.
Number 2, you need to file a 388 petition requesting placement of the child back in your home.
388 petition. Got it.
And then there's a
Requesting child back in my
petition.
home.
Yeah. There's a petition, I think it's called a JV 587 or 585. It's a petition to be allowed to have copies of all the minute orders and all the reports filed by the social worker. Because if they're, saying bad things against you, you want to know.
Yeah, and they won't even tell me what they're holding against me. Oh, and get this.
Hold on.
Yes,
Because I'm running out of time. I need to tell you what to do, okay? The next thing you need to
Can you give me the number that you last said? JV?
I think it's 585.
585, thank you.
Yeah. Also file a JV 285. And these JV forms, you can just Google them and find them. All right?
I know where to find them because I did the de facto already. I'm ready to do all of this stuff.
Now there is something that I've been using as a new strategy in cases like yours, and that is for you to file a motion for presumed parent status.
Presumed parent
status, right. Now, I'm not sure that you can do all of this by yourself. I don't know your legal background and training, but
I took a little bit of paralegal back in the day, so, I'm slightly confident, and I know how to talk to people at the courthouse window and get, they all seem to be very helpful.
All right. So you're also going to have to, if any of these get approved by the judge, you're probably going to have a trial or a mini hearing to prove that the child should be returned to you. So, I'm not sure how good you are on the law and evidence and procedure, but, you should consider consulting someone to help you at least get these things filed correctly, because this may be your only shot. Roseanne, I want to thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm
Keep
grateful
listening
for your advice.
All righty. Folks, we've run out of time. This is Attorney Vince Davis, The Secret, How to Fight Child Protection.